All right, for more on this, let's now welcome Professor Tim Murithi, Head of a Peacebuilding Intervention at the Institute for Justice and Reconciliation based in Cape Town. Prof, a very good afternoon to you. So this is the most highly anticipated meeting between, between these two presidents, a meeting that comes amid strained relations, no doubt a tough diplomatic task for President Ramaphosa. When you consider what has transpired since President Trump's second term to date, there's no shift in geopolitics, and even various countries have really had to scramble to deal with this new world order, as it were. What do you believe, in your view, should be South African government's priorities during these engagements?
Thank you, Nati. Yes, indeed. We are witnessing a significant shift in the global order. In fact, one could even go as far to say as the Second World War order that we know and understood is effectively coming to an end, dealing with Trump's disruptive, movements to recalibrate the world to fit it within the America Fast trade policy. So South Africa, has very strong trade links with the United States. Almost 21 billion US dollars, 600 companies from the US investing in South Africa, 130,000 jobs, and you also heard, for example, the agri sector significantly exposed. So this is a trip to try to, first of all, I think. Perhaps educate Washington to a certain extent as to some interests in maintaining a stable society, redressing the past injustices, but also to reset the relationships, the trade relationships going forward. Because as you've heard, both South Africa and US are in fact quite mutually bound and to quite a significant degree in terms of relations, but beyond that, also regional security and other areas where the two countries collaborate quite strongly going back in time.
Yeah, I want us to look at the teams from either country that will be meeting this afternoon in less than an hour's time, or just over an hour's time. I want us to begin with the US and just some of the names that are there. Billionaire Elon Musk, obviously there. He continues to misrepresent the facts around his difficulties, for one, in getting a license to operate his internet service Starlink in South Africa. How likely is his presence to derail conversation, especially at this point if there was indeed a deal or not that was struck between him and the South African government? And there's a list there for our audience and our viewers. But just to go through it, Vice President J.D. Vance, of course, Secretary Pete Hegseth, Secretary Howard Lutnick, Deputy Secretary Christopher Landu, Susie Wiles is the Chief of Staff, and of course, as well as Dr. Masad Boulos. Just about those dynamics, Prof.
Yeah, look, I think both sides have put up quite strong and senior and high-level team members. South Africa, also as including the president, the Birko and Minister Lamola, but we also have a billionaire in our delegation, Remgro chair Anton Rupert. So one is getting the sense that this debate will operate on this. Trump is known as quite a transactional leader, and to have other business leaders there. Interestingly enough, the union leaders will also be in South Africa's delegation. Suggests that the discussion will be wide-ranging, and it looks like South Africa is not going there simply to kowtow, but to point out and educate and bring the awareness of to the Washington leaders that, in fact, South Africa also contributes significantly to the U.S. economy and vice versa.
And we're just pulling up that list again for our viewers, just to there, of course, the President Cyril Ramaphosa will be joined by the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Ronald Lamola, as well as the Minister in the Presidency, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition, Parks Tau, Minister of Agriculture, John Steenhuisen. And you've, of course, mentioned the big business as well as golf greats, South African professional Als, founder of Rich and chairman of Regro, Mr. Johan Rupert there, South African professional golfer Retief Goosen. Of course, also Business Unity South Africa will be present with Adrian Gore as vice president, as well as COSATU's president also being there. And that, of course, is Zingiswa Losi. So there is a lot of interest here, particularly when you look at that list from South Africa. I mean, the U.S. economy is 73 times larger than the South African economy. And so the stakes are clear. But given also what saying, you know, in terms of Trump has initiated a major upheaval in global international relations, achieve balancing diplomacy and strategy. Of course, you know, they are led by President Cyril Ramaphosa, who is very much in control and understands how to play that diplomatic role.
Yes, I think, Murithi, you see that since Trump came into power and issued the tariffs on quite a wide range of countries, other leading economies of the world, United Kingdom, Canada, Mexico, have also engaged in this bilateral negotiations with the Trump administration to recalibrate the relationship, because I think that is actually the appropriate way to go, because in the absence of a form of understanding could put to threat the 100,000 jobs that I mentioned in South Africa that are exposed through the U.S. businesses present here, and similarly South African companies in the U.S. So it's interesting to note the strategy of including a number of golfers in this delegation to soften that that the engagement, because Trump himself is an avid golfer, as you know. While there's the high-level diplomatic trade engagement that is being pursued, there's also a softening approach with the golfers to almost, if you will, grease the wheels and enable conversation to proceed. But I believe South Africa will be there not to just receive an edict and to kowtow to Washington, but South Africa will also be there to make its case quite strongly, which will ultimately augurs well not only for South Africa but also for Africa. As you know, South Africa is a leading proponent of the African continental free trade area and considers itself a gateway into the rest of the continent. So this is quite a pivotal meeting. And I think, at the end of the day, it's easy to sit back and say we should not engage. But where jobs and lives are at stake, I think it makes this initiative to undertake some form of diplomatic negotiation to smooth over the wheels, reset the relationship, but also educate. But as you mentioned, the issue of Starlink's license. It's important to educate the Americans that South Africa has a particular redress historical injustice, must through the legislation and laws. Unati.
Absolutely. Prof, thank you so much for your time and your analysis. Professor Tim Murithi, head of Peacebuilding Intervention, Institute for Justice and Reconciliation based in Cape Town. Thank you so much for that.